नमस्कार दोस्तों, एफआईआई के वीकली प्रोग्राम टॉक विद एन एक्सपर्ट के आज के इस एपिसोड में आप सबका स्वागत है। दोस्तों, हमारे इस प्रोग्राम का मेन एम ही एक्सपर्ट्स का आप लोगों से रूबरू करवाना है और आप सबके क्वेश्चंस के सही आंसर और सही गाइडेंस ही हमारे इस प्रोग्राम का मुख्य उद्देश्य है। और आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है, रोड मैप फॉर SEZ 2.0, क्रिएटिंग रोबस्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इकोसिस्टम टू प्रोपेल इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ। और हमारे साथ सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट के रूप में जुड़े हैं डॉक्टर LB सिंघल जी। नमस्कार डॉक्टर साहब, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे इस प्रोग्राम में।
नमस्कार, थैंक यू सो मच संजीव जी।
Dr. LB Singhal has been former Zonal Development Commissioner for Noida SEZ and FALTA SEZ. He also has been former Director General for Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs. He has been former Additional DGFT for Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. And very honored to say this, that he holds the PhD in SEZ and he is one of the key architects of SEZ policy in India. So sir, once again, we welcome you in our show, sir. It is our honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Sanjiv ji. Thank you so much. In fact, I should convey my thanks to you for providing me an opportunity.
And also, I am very feeling proud to welcome Mr. Hitender Mehta as a subject expert. हितेंद्र जी, आपका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत है।
थैंक यू संजीव जी।
दोस्तों, हितेंद्र जी के बारे में आप सब जानते ही हैं, फिर भी एक प्रोफेशनल इंट्रोडक्शन आज मेरा बनता ही है। तो अबाउट हितेंद्र जी, मिस्टर हितेंद्र मेहता इज FCS, FCA, LLB by profession and he is also a managing partner at Centrum Legal. He is also an author of book Law and Practice relating to Special Economic Zone. He is also author of many other books and he is also a chairman of Free Trade Zone Committee and International Affairs Committee at FII. About FII, friends, FII तो आप सब जानते हैं, FII is the only organization who is giving his services in almost every sector in the industry, in country and abroad. And Mr. Deepak Jain is president of Federation of Indian Industry. As Mr. Hitender Mehta is a chairman of Free Trade Zone Committee and International Affairs Committee. So, Mr. Mehta, I request you to take the discussion forward today.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev ji, and thanks for that introduction. I think it is very interesting webinar where I'm wearing two hats. One as a guest expert, as a subject expert, and then other as being chairman of the Free Trade Zone Committee of FII. So I am, let me just, keep changing those hats. So sure. I'll be now taking over as chairman of the Free Trade Zone Committee at FII. Dr. Singhal, we welcome you to this very special episode of this Talk with an Expert show. And this particular event has been organized keeping you only in mind and keeping the fact in the mind that there have been so many global dynamics changing in recent times, and considering the fact that the SEZ scheme has completed almost 20 years in 2025, as we all are aware that India was the first country in Asia to start this export processing zone scheme way back in 1965. And from 1965 to 1990, this scheme operated, and we had 7 EPZ set up by the central government and 1 EPZ was set up by the private sector. However, the country could not see the desired, momentum in the exports despite having these special economic zones for almost 35 years. And in year 2000, we noticed that the exports stood at around 8,000 crore rupees, India's export. Then in 2000, there was a shift, rather a paradigm shift, when this SEZ scheme was introduced in the then Exim policy. And this continued by way of an introduction in the exim policy for almost 5 years, when in 2005, finally the SEZ Act was enacted by the Parliament. And then in 2006, February 10, 2006, the SEZ rules were notified and the Act became operational. Now, if I was to share some numbers with the audience, so when this SEZ scheme was formally introduced in 2005-6, I think India's export that time stood at around 22,000 crores in 2005 or 34,000 crores in 2006. Kindly correct me, Singhal Saab, if I am wrong. And then when we compare these numbers with today's numbers, so in 2024-25, the exports from SEZ stood at 14 lakhs 56,871 crores, which is almost 170 billion US dollars. And this is more than 1/5 of India's total export. I mean, the kind of performance SEZs have delivered, we feel that SEZ did not receive that much attention from the government. Not only that export performance has been impressive, but there have been quantum jump in creation of employment, creation of infrastructure, and inviting the foreign investment in the country, which is around 7 lakh crore rupees. So given these background information, now when we see the current picture, Dr. Singhal, I am told that approximately 20,000 hectares of developed secured land is not being utilized to the maximum potential. And there is approximately 100 million square feet of built up space in the SEZ which remains unutilized. I think these assets present an imminent opportunity for the investors, not only domestic, but the foreign investors as well. So how to address these kind of, challenges or issues? Now, we would need your expert views on these issues. So I just come over to you directly without without any further ado. Sir, according to you, how do you feel that how this SEZ scheme has contributed to the legislative promises?
Thank you so much, Hitender ji and Sanjiv ji, for providing me an opportunity. First of all, I believe that this is absolutely the right moment for discussing the issues relating to SEZs, because SEZ Act was enacted in 2005 and we have completed 20 years since the enactment of the SEZ Act. So this is the right moment to see what we have been able to do and what further needs to be done. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, first of all, for evaluating any scheme, you have to see what were the objectives of the scheme and to what extent we have been able to achieve those objectives. The objectives of the SEZ scheme have been given in Section 5 of the SEZ Act. And the objectives are: number one, increasing exports; number two, increasing investment; number three, increasing employment; number four, creating world-class infrastructure. Now, if we see it from all these perspectives, increasing exports from SEZs have gone up 14 lakh crore approximately, $172 billion. Now, if you see investment has gone up from rupees 4,000 crore rupees in 2005 to approximately 7 lakh crore. Now, if you see the employment, the direct employment in 2005, that was approximately 1,35,000 people. And today in the SEZs, the direct employment is approximately 3 million. To be precise, 32 lakh people are directly working. And indirect employment is almost 3 times of this number. So if you see it from all these three objectives of increasing exports, increasing employment, increasing investment, we find that SEZ scheme has done very well. But simultaneously, if we see out of the exports of around $172 billion, approximately 60% of the exports are from the services sector, that is IT enabled services. And the remaining 40% the manufacturing sector. From that also substantially, the exports are from say chemicals and petrochemicals, that is Reliance Jamnagar and gems and jewelry sector. So rest of the manufacturing sector have not done that well, which we expected the SZ scheme to do. So if we look at 20 years from there, the SZ scheme has done well from the legislative perspective in achieving its objectives, but in the manufacturing sector, to the extent we expected, it has not done well. So certain steps need to be taken, certain policy revisions need to be carried out for encouraging the manufacturing sector.
Precisely. I think thank you so much, sir, for that very enlightened perspective. Uh, I completely agree that service sector has dominated the export basket from these SEZs. And even in the manufacturing sector, this has been concentrated in some sectors. Sir, according to you, how you feel, how this multi-product SEZs, I mean, they have, contributed on ground to boosting the economy. So any example would you like to give?
Yes, you see, we had multi-product SEZ wherein the manufacturing as well as the trading could be carried out and the manufacturing of all the segments could be carried out. We had the services sector SEZs, we had the sector specific SEZs. Now multi-product SEZ, in the beginning we had laid down the criteria of minimum requirement of 1000 hectares. Then subsequently we reduced this minimum requirement of land to 500 hectares, and today the requirement is 50 hectares. If we see the multi-product SEZs which have come up, one example which immediately comes to the mind which has done very well, that is Sri City SEZ in Andhra Pradesh, which is near Chennai. It's around 70 kilometers, and this SEZ is located in one of the backward regions, Nalore district, and it has done extremely well. It has got the manufacturing sector from more than 27 countries. It has got the employment of more than 60,000 people, and it is covering all the manufacturing sector. It has got the, and in the SEZ scheme, when we moved from the EPZ scheme to SEZ, one of the things which we did was that earlier EPZs, they had only the processing area, that is only the manufacturing area. There was no space for social infrastructure. In the SEZ scheme, we created space for social infrastructure. So there is a processing area, there is a non-processing area. In the non-processing area, residential space for the workers, the educational space, the hospitals, all these facilities could be created. Now, if you see Sri City, that is an ideal example which really meets the requirement of what we intended to do in the SZ scheme. We have the manufacturing sector in the processing area where companies from more than 27 countries, 60,000 employees, most of them are from the rural area. The substantial number of them is the women workers are there. And then if you see the social sector, in the non-processing area, we have got the residential complex, we have got the hospitals, we have got the triple IT, we have got the Kriya University working over there, we have got the hospitals. So all those things also have been created. So as the Sri City SEZ is an example of a multi-product SEZ which the SEZ scheme has successfully created.
Great. I mean, what you, I think, perhaps intended to say that this is a self-sustainable industrial township where we have social infrastructure as well, apart from having manufacturing capabilities.
Yes.
So I think the idea of achieving this manufacturing excellence through these kind of SEZ was there in the beginning, or that was there in the minds of the legislators also that time. So, but having said that, as you mentioned that only in sectors like chemicals or petrochemical or gems and jewelry, they have been the largest beneficiaries. So I think there have been some concerns for the government also as to why the other sectors, they didn't come up or they couldn't avail the benefits that were available in the form of SEZ scheme. I think, sir, it is high time that the government also should consider bringing some quick progressive adjustments in the SEZ scheme, given the past experience of 2 decades almost. Now we have seen all sides, like what are the factors which dampen the movement in the SEZs also, which actually can actually remove the bottlenecks, remove the obstacles also. And now what can actually drive or propel economic growth, what kind of changes? So I think one important aspect which comes to my mind, that there is a misconception in the mind of people that SEZs are special export zones, right? And they are somehow, they don't seem to be aligned with the domestic economy properly. For so to say, I mean, there's a perception that SEZ is a deemed foreign territory, so therefore they will not be dealing with the domestic tariff area. So which is not the case. In one way, from SEZ one could export to sell to domestic areas subject to payment of applicable duties. Considered as deemed export. I mean, people are doing, but because of the procedural issues, I think this is not picked up as well. I mean, as per the expectations. So, what is your take on integrating the SEZs with the domestic economy so that the benefits of these schemes could be optimally utilized?
Hitender ji is absolutely a very pertinent issue. You see, in the given circumstances today, in the economic environment today, there is definitely a need to integrate SEZs with the domestic market. And for that, certain legislative changes are required to be done. When we want to attract the manufacturers in the SEZs, the manufacturer would like to set up one single unit, which is for the exports as well as for catering to the domestic market. He won't like to have two units, one for the exports, one for the domestic market. And we have got a huge domestic market. So for doing that, we need to carry out changes which enables the better integration of the SZ with the domestic economy. For that, number one, there is a need of carrying out change in Section 30 of the SZ Act. As on today, we are allowing sale of goods from SEZ to domestic market. But when the goods are to be sold from SEZ to DTA, these are treated as import, and on such supplies from SEZ to DTA, the duties are applicable on the finished product.
Right.
And that is applicable as if the things are being imported. For example, if I give you the details, I'm manufacturing a shirt in the DTA, in the SEZ. So for manufacturing shirt, what I'm importing fabric, I'm importing thread, I'm importing buttons, I'm making the shirt. But when I'm selling the shirt in the domestic market, I pay duty on the shirt, which is applicable. So duty number one on the finished product,
On the
product,
value addition
vis-a-vis raw
also
material
duty
is
is payable.
normally higher. And number two, the value of the product that goes up. So that means the value of the fabric might be 100 rupees, but the value of the shirt would be 400 rupees. So you are paying duty on the 400 vis-a-vis 100 rupees. So basically, what there is a concept of duty foregone. That means if a SEZ unit is selling the goods in the domestic market, they should be asked to pay duty which has been actually foregone. Actually foregone means whatever import has been affected by that unit, on that import, whatever duty has been foregone, that should be paid back. So that has got two advantages. Number one, it's a revenue neutral thing. Whatever government has foregone the duty, that is entirely recovered. Number two, whatever value addition is carried out in the SEZ, there's no duty on that value addition. The employment would be created in the country, value addition would be created in the country, and the SEZ manufacturer, he would have the advantage of using that manufacturing facility for export as well as for supplying in the domestic market. So that is the first important thing which needs to be done. This has been debated. I am aware this issue is under discussion between Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Finance, but this needs to be concluded. Earlier we do it, better it would be. But this would be the major starting point. Second thing which I could say is subcontracting. As on today, the SEZ units, they are allowed to do subcontracting. But what subcontracting is allowed? That SEZ unit can take the raw material from the domestic market on behalf of the domestic supplier, manufacture goods on behalf of the domestic supplier, and then it has to be exported directly from the SEZ. So subcontracting on behalf of the DTA supplier is allowed only for the export. In case a DTA manufacturer wants to get the subcontracting done in the SEZ and bring it back in the domestic market, that is not allowed. We should allow this facility of subcontracting in the SEZ for domestic market as well. What would happen by doing this thing is that whatever surplus capacity is there in the SEZ, that will be utilized for domestic manufacturing. They will not have to lay off the employees in case of the surplus season. The employees, their employment would continue to be there, and it would be leading to better integration. As you also stated, you see, when we were changing the scheme from export processing zone to special economic zone scheme in 2000, I was privileged to be involved at that stage when it was incorporated in the foreign trade policy in the 2000. And then subsequently also when the SEZ Act was enacted, at that time I was involved in that. We had the option of naming this scheme like export processing zone as a special export zone. We did not name it as a special export zone. We named it as a special economic zone. And the intention was that it should lead to increase in the economic activities in the country. It should lead to backward integration. It should lead to forward integration with the domestic economy. We have been able to achieve our objectives, but for better integration of the SEZs with the domestic economy, these measures are absolutely required. And again, if we see that we have got approximately 20,000 hectares developed, secured land available in the SEZ. That's a huge quantum of the developed secured land. We should utilize that land for promoting manufacturing, employment, and investment in the country. Honorable Prime Minister has been saying that we need to increase manufacturing in the country. We need to increase employment in the country. And we have got two, three more schemes. In the last few years, government has brought in production linked incentive scheme in 13 sectors. We are going to give around 1,97,000 crore rupees as a kind of benefits under those schemes. Similarly, we have got the industrial corridor schemes. These three schemes, SEZ scheme, PLI scheme, and industrial corridor scheme, should be working in cohesion. They should be working complementary to each other. They should be supplementing to each other their efforts, so that all put together gives an impetus to make in India. That is what Honorable Prime Minister have been exhorting us, desiring us, and making that we should do that. So I think these are the things which are absolutely required to be done and need to be done on the fast track basis.
I think you have made three very, very valid suggestions, I must say. So I think the first suggestion which you made was on the duty foregone principle, allowing DTA sales on duty foregone. This will actually provide level playing fields to the SEZ units who supply in domestic tariff areas also. Otherwise, I mean, if they end up paying on value addition also, then there will not be any level playing field. I think that actually, and as you rightly said, this is a revenue neutral proposition. So government should not be having much concerns about this providing of a level playing field to the SEZ units. So this is, I think, very good suggestion. And second, you made a very good point about allowing SEZ units. I mean, outsourcing to domestic players. I mean, to outsource in SEZ units and then take back to the domestic economy. So this not only, increase the economic activity within the country, but then this actually enhances the Prime Minister's, vision of made in India, of vocal for local, right? And because SCZs are known for ease of doing business, and there is a single legislation to deal with, most of the trade related issues. So I think this is a fit case for government to consider. And I think last you very well, put up that the various schemes of the government, like production linked incentive scheme or industrial corridor scheme or SEZ scheme, so they need to work in tandem, in complete sync with each other. So I think a country like China, they have actually created their SEZ system alongside these schemes only. Because in China, if I see that all their SEZs are alongside the industrial corridors, although they have only six, but the size of those SEZ is very big. I mean, the complete city is a special economic zone. So I think these are very well put up suggestions by, I think, you, and who have been at the core of this subject and who've been involved since the very beginning and have seen these 20 years of performance while being at the chair of Zonal Development Commissioner and being at the senior positions in the Ministry of Commerce as well. So, sir, taking this discussion forward, so how you feel that the effective single window mechanism has been both at center level and state level, and how the state governments can benefit from these schemes by being proactive and by facilitating this single window which is intended under the legislation?
Again, Hitender, thank you so much for raising a very important issue. You see, when we envisaged the SZ scheme, at that time, the single window mechanism that was considered to be a very one of the important components. In the SZ scheme, we had envisaged single window mechanism at three places. One, at the central level, that is board of approval. Second, at the development commissioner, which is unit approval committee. And third is at the state level. What the board of approval does is that any approval of the SZ that is given by the board of approval, that is chaired by the commerce secretary, the representative of the government from other ministries, Ministry of Finance, CBIC, CBDT, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Law, Ministry of Home, the state government representatives from different states, all the zonal development commissioners, all are there. This level, single window mechanism at the board of approval level, it is working very fine. Number two, at the zonal level. Zonal level, the approval committee is chaired by the zonal development commissioner. The representative from the customs, local representatives, commissioner of customs, similarly, commissioner of income tax, two representatives of the state government, representatives of the developers, they are the members. That is also working well. Third window was supposed to be at the state level. It was supposed to be there that in the state also there would be a SEZ committee chaired by the chief secretary with representatives from the different departments, and any proposal which is relating to the state government, relating to that state, relating to SEZ will be considered in that committee, and the single window approval, would be there, and it would be communicated either in the UAC or the board of approval as the case would be. That has not happened. For example, I was zonal development commissioner of Noida SEZ. I had representatives from the state government of Haryana in my approval committee. I had the representatives of the UP government. I had the representatives of the Rajasthan government in my committees. What is expected is that if there is any unit being set up, say in Noida SEZ, or say Mahindra World City SEZ in Rajasthan, or say in Chandigarh SEZs, then that proposal of the unit will come in the unit approval committee. The state government representatives will take that proposal to the state government, get all the clearances done in that state government level committee, and will communicate it back to the unit approval committee. That has effectively not happened. It was expected that the SEZ manufacturer or the SEZ unit, they don't have to go anywhere else. Their single point of contact is unit approval committee, and rest of the job is to be done over there. But we find that the asset developer, for getting the building plan approval, they have to go to the state governments. For getting environmental clearances, they have to go to the state governments. Some of the state government did that effectively, single window coordination. For example, Gujarat, they set up a single SEZ authority wherein this kind of coordination was there. Some other states also did that coordination. Tamil Nadu was there, Andhra Pradesh was there. But I believe this is one area wherein single window mechanism at the state level that needs to be implemented effectively, so that when an investor is coming, specifically say international investor is coming, you see, he doesn't know the kind of approvals which are required to be taken from the state government. He should have that confidence that if I go to SEZ, I will get my all approvals at one place. So this is absolutely important. Number two, state government, we had also envisaged, Rule 5 provides that state government shall endeavor to provide all exemption from duties and taxes levied by the state governments. So that means whatever taxes are levied by the state government for the SZ units, these are also provided. For example, stamp duty is there, electricity duty is there, or say whatever other taxes are there, like
Notifying SEZ as public utility.
delegating the power of the labor commissioner to the zonal development
Right.
commissioner, declaring the SEZ as a public utility services. So all those kind of things which are required to be done, that should be done by the state government. Some of the state governments have done it. They have declared SEZ as a public utility services. They have delegated the power of the labor commissioner to the zonal development commissioner, so that even for these labor issues, the SEZ unit, they don't have to go outside. Whatever returns are required to, no one is saying that they won't be complying. They would be complying.
Right.
Whatever returns are required to be filed, they would be filed. But it would be at one place. So I believe that single window mechanism at the state level and actual implementation at that state level and active involvement of the state government, that would be immensely important for taking this scheme forward.
I think very well, I think pointed out by you, sir. The single window is, I think, at the core of the SEZ scheme. I mean, this is the basis on which this SEZ enactment was brought in, that there will not be any business will not be required to face any hassles, any procedural issues with different authorities. So they will be only having single window, and they will be dealing with the development commissioner or the unit approval committee. So I think it was for the state to reap the benefits by having effective single window at state level. But having said that, I mean, even if we take some concrete steps in this regard, so and state governments are encouraged to initiate actions in this direction. So still they can invite investment into these special economic zones. So now, as we are reaching towards the conclusion of this webinar, sir, I have a couple of more questions. I request you to briefly address those issues. I think this has been a very useful discussion insofar as the special economic zones are concerned, or insofar as the increasing exports from India are concerned, or now going forward, how to integrate special economic zones with the domestic economy is concerned. So I'm sure these issues will be represented by the Federation of Indian Industry also to the government, and these will be taken up with the appropriate departments and ministries. So taking that discussion forward, Dr. Singhal, I'd like to ask from you uh, how you view that whether these dual use facility for manufacturing in manufacturing unit should be allowed the way it has been allowed for IT or service sector units.
Yes, this is again a very, very important issue. You see,
Uh,
when we found that in the IT sector SEZs, approximately 100 million square feet of built up area is available. Then government has already carried out a change in the scheme, wherein what we are doing is that in case in the IT sector SEZ, if some developer wants to convert part of the SEZ in the processing area for dual use. Dual use means wherein a domestic unit could also set up the unit for domestic business. So then it has been allowed, subject to the condition that for that particular portion wherein they are going to use it for the domestic market, whatever duty free benefits have been taken by the developer, this would be refunded back. Similarly, in the non-processing area where the residential complexes were to be made, it was felt that in case those facilities are not being fully utilized, there also the dual use concept could be applied so that this social infrastructure could be utilized for SEZ as well as domestic people, provided that whatever benefits were there taken, these are refunded back. Similarly, now that we have got 20,000 hectares of developed and secured land available in the manufacturing sector SEZ, I believe this dual use facility should be allowed in the manufacturing sector SEZs as well, wherein the developer should be given the option that in case part of the SEZ in the processing area which they are not able to utilize only for the exports, they can utilize for setting up the domestic units as well. And as has been done in the case of IT sector and in the social infrastructure, that on that particular area which they want to convert for dual use, whatever duty benefits were taken, whether it's a central government duties or the state government duties, these duties are refunded back. So as far as the government is concerned, this will be revenue neutral again, the duties will be given back. And simultaneously, this huge facility which we have created, that will be utilized for manufacturing. There would be employment creation, there would be value addition in the country, and the vision which we Honorable Prime Minister has been talking about, that we must create the manufacturing hub. So that would be realized. So I believe this is again a very, very important area on which a view need to be taken. I know there would be some concern, there would be some issues, but whatever issues comes up, there is a solution for everything. We can work out mechanism, we can work out safeguards, whatever is required to be done for the manufacturing sector. But since this has already been done, we have experimented that for the social infrastructure, we are experimenting that for more than 5 years. For IT sector also, we are experimenting for more than 2 years. For the manufacturing sector, I don't see any reason why manufacturing sector needs to be ignored and needs to be left out. It should be done for that as well.
Well said, sir. I think this will go, I mean, to endorse that earlier statement where you said that an investor want to set up only one unit for SEZs and one for the domestic sales also. So, I mean, they want to have, single company. Within that, they can have different
single
divisions.
integrated unit they would like to have for international market as well as domestic market.
Correct. So this will actually serve that purpose also. I think this is also a good suggestion. I mean, whereby these manufacturing units in SEZs, they will be able to leverage I mean, they will be able to utilize their idle capacities also, or maybe explore the other markets also. So,
Yes.
going forward, sir, so the SEZ units are not being allowed, or maybe there has been some lack of clarity in some of the availability of schemes like road tap, refund of duties and taxes. So, what is your view, sir, like regarding availability of schemes like road tap to SEZ units?
Again, important issues. We have been on this issue off and on. Sometimes we say road tap benefit is not available to SZ unit.
Sir,
Sometimes we extend that one, but extend it for the limited period. Then again we extend it. Similarly, there is another scheme, ROSTL, which is there for the textile sector. Same is the situation for RSTL. Please try to understand the rationale of these two schemes, road tap and ROSTL. What the SZ scheme provide is exemption from indirect taxes on the inputs and the capital goods imported in the SZ by the manufacturer. So say exemptions from all kind of customs duties are provided for. Exemption
right.
from GST is provided for. IGST exemption is also provided for. These benefits are provided to the domestic exporters also, but in the form of different scheme. We have got the advance authorization scheme, wherein the duty-free inputs are provided. We have got the export promotion capital goods scheme, wherein the duty-free capital goods are provided. Okay, but the road tap scheme and ROSTL scheme, they are providing refund of those taxes and levies which are not exempted or refunded, which are not indirect taxes. So that is in addition to the exemptions of indirect taxes. And if that is provided to the domestic exporter, there is absolutely no reason why the benefit of these schemes, road tap as well as ROSTL, should not be provided to the exporters working in SEZs or EOUs. And there has got to SZ scheme, the basic one thing when we conceptualized the SZ scheme was providing a long-term stability and continuity. By having off and on, okay, now today the road tap is available, tomorrow it is not there, today ROSTL is there, tomorrow it is not there, it's not going to happen.
There has
We
to be
must come
stability
out
of
clearly
policy.
that road tap as well as ROSTL scheme that will be available to the SZ and the EOU schemes as well.
Right. I think the point to be taken from here is that the schemes should be having clarity, and there should be a stability of like for whatever period they are in operation. And these benefits should be allowed to the units without delays. So that is also another concern from the industry. So if I am allowed certain benefits and these are not being, passed on for a considerable time, so then this defeats the very purpose of the scheme. So
Yes.
coming to, I think the last part of this webinar, sir. So one point which we discussed was that integration of SEZs with the domestic economy. So when we say that SEZ should be freely, they are allowed to freely sell to domestic tariff area on duty foregone principle basis. So now in that scenario, so how relevant this condition of net foreign exchange earning obligation should be there? I mean, whether it should be there or whether it should be seen from case to case basis, or should there be any other criteria for consideration of the government, sir?
Again, Hitenderji is an excellent issue and it's a very, very relevant issue. Let's try to understand what is net foreign exchange earning criteria. Net foreign exchange criteria means that your export value has to be more than the import value. That is seen in the asset cumulatively over a period of 5 years. That means if over a period of 5 years, I have done my imports of 1 lakh rupees, my exports should be more than 1 lakh rupees. Okay. If that was the condition which was imposed when the asset scheme was conceptualized. Because though it was special economic zone, the prime focus was on the export. Now that we are talking about integrating the SZ with the domestic economy, and we are talking about the scheme after seeing the result of the last 20 years from the enactment of the SZ Act. I personally believe that we need to do away with this net foreign exchange criteria. Reason being, if we have the NFE criteria, then it will defeat the purpose of other changes which we are talking about, say duty forgone. because if you have the NFE, then whatever you have imported, your export has to be more than that. That means practically in the domestic market, you can sell to the extent value addition carried out in the SEZ. Value addition is what, 10%, 12%, 15%. So if your value of import was 1 lakh rupees, your product is say 1 lakh 15,000, 1 lakh 1,000 you export, so maximum you can sell is 14,000 rupees. So I believe that, and now when we are doing away with the NFE criteria, let's see it from the government's perspective also. That the SZ unit, whatever duty benefit it has taken, when it is selling the goods in the DTA, the entire duty is supposed to be refunded back. So there's no implication. On the contrary, you have the integrated unit, and even for selling in the domestic market, the employment is created in the country, value addition is created in the country. Number two is that if you see the NFE criteria, when you do away with this thing, so then you are encouraging more and more units to be coming in. Thirdly, you also have to see what has happened in the last 5 years. A new scheme has been introduced by the CBIC, mover scheme.
Right.
Under the mover scheme, a unit is allowed to set up a unit anywhere in the country. They are allowed to import duty-free inputs. They are allowed to import duty-free capital goods. They are allowed to export, and they are allowed to sell in the domestic market on duty forgone basis. There's no NFE criteria. We have already successfully implemented that scheme. We have the export-oriented unit scheme in the chapter 6 of the foreign trade policy. Export-oriented unit scheme is also more or less like the SZ scheme, wherein duty-free inputs is allowed, duty-free capital good is allowed, you have to export, and you can sell in the domestic market on payment of duty. And there is an NFE criteria. Even in the EOU scheme, in the foreign trade policy, the duty forgone concept has been incorporated. Okay, so since in the mover scheme, NFE criteria is not there, there's a need of doing away with that requirement in the SEZ as well as EOU, because it becomes a revenue neutral scheme. Whatever you import duty free, whatever you export for the duty for the export, you get the benefit. In case you sell in the domestic market, you pay the duties back. So I think in case we continue to have the NFE criteria, then indirectly it will defeat the purpose of other change which we are thinking of bringing in the concept of duty forgone. I know it's a sensitive area. Many people will have different view. They would be talking about that SEZ was meant for exports only. How can we do away with the NFE criteria? But we should also see a lot of what has flown after that. When we say the SEZ scheme, we were providing direct tax benefit. Direct tax benefit means the exporters were entitled for income tax exemptions on the export income derived from the SEZ export. It was 15 years export income exemption. First 5 years 100% exemption, then next 5 years 50% exemption, next 5 years again if you invest back, exemption for 50%. That benefit has been done away with. The benefit of income tax exemption to the SEZ exports, that is gone. We had provided income tax exemption to SEZ developers also. 10 years stateway. That income tax exemption to the SEZ developers has also gone. So we have to take into account all all the things in totality, the things which have gone, how the SEZ schemes have performed, the fact that other manufacturing sectors have not done well, the fact that income tax benefits have gone away, the fact that there's a need of integrating the SEZ with the domestic economy, the fact that we need to have all these three schemes, PLI, industrial corridor, and SEZ scheme work together hand in hand. So there's a need of reconsideration of this issue as well.
Great. I think very aptly put by you, sir. When we talk of integrating the SEZs with domestic economy and trying to increase the domestic demand and domestic consumption. So I think these issues will require to be revisited, and decisions are to be taken as per the changing needs of the time. So I think
Yes.
you have very well, put up all these points, sir. I would also like to share, my views, like which I experience after my, long industry experience or discussions with the industry. So I think the major concern for the industry is that whatever policy we bring in, I mean, there should be a stability in the policy and there should be a clarity from the very beginning that how long this policy will continue. And whenever a review is warranted, so there can be a midterm review also, but then this should be made known to everybody in advance. Supposing 5 year down the line we will review the policy, then it should be known to everyone. Or if there are any global compulsions, then the government should do it. So that goes without saying. Like SEZ scheme was doing excellently well. I mean, since its inception until this introduction of the MAT, minimum alternate tax on SEZs, and dividend distribution tax exemption withdrawal was there. And that is where from the time when this MAT was levied on the SEZs, so then the interest starting diminishing in the scheme. I mean, then we saw investors' interest, diminishing substantially because there were concerns about the policy stability. And second is that, I mean, one SEZ Act was enacted, so then it was conveyed by and large that this is a overriding act. I mean, no other laws, would interfere into the special economic zones. So, I mean, and there was a non-obstante clause also in SEZ Act that it will have a overriding powers whenever there is an inconsistency with the provisions of the other laws. So when this act was changed, or particularly the benefits which were made available under the SEZ Act, they were changed through amendments in say, for example, Income Tax Act. I mean, that those were considered to be, against those, very fundamental perceptions that people thought that SEZ Act would not be amended just like that. But then this happened, and this again reduced the interest of the investors community in the SEZs. Now, having said that, whatever suggestions I think we are discussing today and whatever suggestions have been made, they have far-reaching implications if these are implemented in the spirit the way we are intending, to convey to the government. So I think as of now we have around 370 notified SEZs, but out of these 370, only 276 are operational. So say 3/4 of the SEZs are operational, and these 3/4 are contributing to this 14 lakhs and 14.5 lakh crore worth rupees of exports. So just imagine, sir, if we could actually operationalize the entire all the notified SEZs, so my exports would automatically, by simple arithmetic, they will increase 1/4 at least. So if I increase another 95 SEZs in my kitty, so accordingly my turnover from the SEZs would increase, and this will easily surpass 20 lakh crore worth of turnover from the SEZs. And this small change can actually help the government, help the country in achieving $5 trillion with one small adjustments in these kind of schemes. So these schemes have demonstrated that these have potential. I mean that they can contribute and they can further propel the the domestic demand and domestic consumption. So given the single window benefits and given the kind of peace of mind it offers to the businessman. So this is one aspect, sir. Uh, when, as you rightly said, when this act was envisaged, this was envisaged at a very contemporary and progressive law to provide an industrially competitive global economic system. Now, since this regime has completed almost 2 decades in 2025, so there is an imperative, an urgent need to make very quick progressive adjustments in the SEZ scheme in line with the prevailing economic realities and legislative demands. So the insofar as the SEZ community is concerned or fraternity is concerned, so they say that given what we have, nothing more is asked for, but nothing less also. So the government should consider this point, and in the end, I would like to quote Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji's vision. So actually, he has called out for making all-out efforts for a self-reliant India. And in this direction, I think this is a fit case that the SCZ can actually augment this particular vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. When uh, taking this statement forward, Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that reform is a continuous process and reform must be undertaken as per the demands of the time and prevailing circumstances. And I don't see any reason why the government should not or why the government would not take these suggestions or these recommendations in the true spirit, and why would not the government take appropriate action, earliest action in this regard. I think with this I would like to once again thank you, sir. It has been a wonderful interaction with you on the today's theme roadmap for SEZ 2.0, creating robust manufacturing ecosystem to propel economic growth. So I think the discussion has been truly befitting the scheme, the theme of the today's webinar. So now I'm just handing over to Sanjiv ji for concluding this webinar. Over to you, Sanjiv ji.
थैंक यू हितेंद्र जी. सबसे पहले सिंघल साहब आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत थैंक यू. आज वी आर ऑनर्ड टू हैव यू हियर. एंड सिंघल साहब, सबसे पहले मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि टॉक विद एन एक्सपर्ट की शुरुआत आज से 5 साल पहले की गई थी. इस सितंबर को हमने 5 इयर्स कंप्लीट किए हैं. सितंबर 2025, 4 सितंबर को हमने 5 इयर्स कंप्लीट किए हैं. एंड एवरी वीक हमारा एपिसोड आता है और हम सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट्स, इंडस्ट्री एक्सपर्ट्स को इनवाइट करते हैं विद द गाइडेंस ऑफ आवर प्रेसिडेंट दीपक जैन जी. And Hitender ji also a part of FII also, and he is just like my elder brother. और इनके साथ भी मैं बहुत सारे एपिसोड्स भी कर चुका हूँ. बाकी पर्सनली एज अ FII फैमिली और पर्सनली हम जुड़े हुए हैं. तो आज का जो एपिसोड है, हितेंद्र जी भी इस बात को एक रिकॉग्नाइज करेंगे कि आज का सबसे डिफरेंट एपिसोड है हमारा. एक बिकॉज आज के इस एपिसोड में पहली बार हितेंद्र जी ने भी डबल रोल अदा किया है, एज अ होस्ट और एज अ सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट. और आज हमारे साथ ऑनरेबल आप हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं. तो मैं बस इतना ही कहूंगा कि सर आज हमारे दर्शकों को बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला. और SEZ के बारे में उन्होंने जितने हमारे पास सवाल आए थे, सभी का आंसर उनको मिल गया होगा. और आज का एक एपिसोड उनको एक डिफरेंट माइंडसेट और एक नया विजन के साथ ये डिलीवर होगा. और उनका एक विजन नया, जो अभी हितेंद्र जी ने बताया कि हमारे रिस्पेक्टेड प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो मुहिम चलाया, सेल्फ रिलायंट इंडिया है, मेक इन इंडिया है, और SEZ स्कीम्स जो हैं, बाकी जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं वो तो रहेंगी. बट मैं अपने ऑडियंस को एक बात जरूर शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि क्योंकि आज हमारे साथ सिंघल साहब जुड़े हैं और डॉक्टर सिंघल ने इतने इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हमारे सामने रखे, उनका सॉल्यूशंस भी रखा. तो दोस्तों, सबसे बड़ा पॉइंट ये है कि बातें तो हम करते हैं, सजेशन भी हम देते हैं. इंडस्ट्री एक्सपर्ट, एज ए इंडस्ट्री एक्सपर्ट सिंघल साहब ने PhD किया है और उन्होंने अपना एक निचोड़ हमारे साथ शेयर किया, जो उनके साथ उनका आज तक का एक्सपीरियंस है और नॉलेज है. बट एक्चुअल में जीत तभी होगी, सेल्फ रिलायंट इंडिया तभी होगा जब हम इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे। तो मेरी अपने ऑडियंस के साथ सबसे पहले यही रिक्वेस्ट है कि वो हमारे इस एपिसोड से हमें मेल करें, बताएं कि उनको क्या अच्छा लगा और वो क्या और चाहते हैं क्लैरिटी के लिए, ताकि हम डॉक्टर सिंघल से रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि वो एक एपिसोड और हमारे साथ करें। और साथ ही जो भी सर की गाइडेंस है उसको हम सिर्फ एक एज एक एपिसोड ना लेकर इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करें। सरकार का काम सरकार कर रही है, लेकिन हमारा काम हमें करना है। हम इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे तो सरकार भी हमारे साथ है, और गाइडेंस के रूप में डॉक्टर सिंघल जी भी हमारे साथ हैं, और एज अ फैमिली एफआईआई तो एफर्ट्स कर ही रही है इस दिशा में। तो इसी के साथ सर मैं एक बार फिर से आपको थैंक यू बोलना चाहूंगा पूरे एफआईआई फैमिली की तरफ से, और हितेंद्र जी का भी थैंक यू बोलना चाहूंगा।
I would also like to say thanks to संजीव जी, आपको भी, हितेंद्र जी को, and I must thank FII also for providing me this an opportunity, because
जी
this is such an important subject and this is close to my heart. So
जी
getting an opportunity to share my views with all of you, and I'll be very happy to provide at any point of time further, whenever any further interaction is required, I'll be very happy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू फॉर दिस
Thank you, Dr. Singhal.
वर्ड्स।
Thank you, Sanjiv ji. जी
या
Thank
थैंक यू हितेंद्र जी। इसी के साथ
जी,
आज हम इजाजत लेते हैं। नमस्कार।
you.
नमस्कार।